On Sunday, a coalition of pro-Trump activists rallied in Foley Square in New York City in an event billed Free Political Prisoners Now for January 6th defendants. As always, I believe in using raw footage to document political demonstrations and make no claims endorsing nor condemning their words. In order to comply with YouTube's community standards requiring countervailing views on documentary video that includes people portraying views on certain topics, I am including the following disclaimer. Joe Biden is the President of the United States, and the World Health Organization says equitable access to safe and effective vaccines is critical to ending the COVID-19 pandemic. I will also include relevant links in the description of this video. Without further ado, here is the uncut raw video of Sunday's rally.
The name of the group that organized this event is Citizens Against Political Persecution, which is everybody here, all the citizens that are against political persecution, and specifically pertaining today to the prisoners that are being held in Washington, D.C., the detainees that were protesting on January 6th. They're being held in solitary confinement without bail in Washington, D.C. jail right now. So that's what we're here for today, to speak up for these guys who cannot stand up for themselves right now. And we're here to tell the federal government that we, the people, will not stand for this. Before I get into the speakers and give you a little bit more information about what's going on, we have Ava Aston. She is a recording artist. She will be singing the Star Spangled Banner, and we have a whole bunch of flags here. So everybody put your hands together for Ava. And she's gonna sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Thank you. Do we have any freedom-loving, patriotic Americans here today? Louder! Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rackets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you so much, Ava. And Ava will be back after a couple speakers. She's going to sing God Bless America. In the meantime, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, respect the flag. Derek Gibson, he's running for governor, is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Derek, where are you? Thank you to the politicians here today that have the nerve to stand up to the government instead of kissing their butt, okay? And that's Derek right here. So Derek's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, then we'll get started.
Thank you, Karen. Good evening, everybody out here, and thank God for the opportunity to be here today. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I changed it up. I didn't change it up, but one of my friends changed it up a little bit, and we're going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance because this is the time that we are in tyranny. So we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and here we go. Y'all ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and its Constitution, upon which our free republic stands, one nation under God, indivisible, free from tyranny, with liberty and justice for all. You can get a copy of this new Pledge of Allegiance before you leave. Thank you, Karen.
That was a great rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Derek. So, let me put this sign down. Hold on a second. So as all of you here know today, and you're very aware, and we have to get this out to the public more, there are men and women whose constitutional rights have been defiled. They are being held without bail. They are being held in D.C. jail right now. Some of them have been in there for since January 6th, in solitary confinement, 23 and a half hours a day, tortured, by the United States government. A good majority of these guys are veterans of foreign wars, decorated veterans, and this is what the federal government does to them: disrespects them and throws them in prison before they were even convicted of a crime. It's terrible, and we need to let them go. That's the chant for today. Let them go! 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 Protesters are not terrorists. They're trying to paint these guys as terrorists. The media has gone out of their way to demonize these guys. The politicians don't have the backbone to stand up, and that includes a lot of Republicans who are pathetic to stand up for these people. It is not okay to treat American citizens like terrorists. Who's next? As I'm sure you're all aware of the poem by the Lutheran priest from World War II. First they came for the socialists, then they came for the trade unionists. I didn't say anything because I wasn't a socialist or a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I didn't say anything because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was nobody left to stand up for me. And that applies today. If we let them get away with railroading these guys, then who is next? What group is next that disagrees with the government and that opposes their policies? Joe Biden called the protesters from January 6th domestic terrorists. So did Nancy Pelosi. So boo to Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden for speaking so ill of American citizens. There were over 1 million people there that day on January 6th in Washington, D.C. I was one of them. And those, you're going to call 1 million people domestic terrorists? Joe Biden, you are a traitor for saying that. He is a traitor. Nancy Pelosi is trying to push through a special select committee for the January 6th fake insurrection. She has no right to be doing so because Nancy Pelosi, as everyone knows, has some involvement. She told the National Guard to stand down. She thought it would look bad optically. So she is biased and she should not be calling for any committee. Lock her up. She is the one that belongs in prison, not American patriots, not veterans of war. We are furious, Nancy Pelosi. Lock her up. 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 That's why she wants control of this commission, so that she can hide any evidence. And a lot of evidence, as you all know, has been coming to the surface about what really happened that day. We actually have a speaker here today who will talk on that, Bob Powell. He's a journalist, and he actually was there that day, and he got a lot of video that the FBI is completely ignoring because it shows that there was infiltration that day. He's coming up next. I'm going to announce the first speaker, and that is Mark. Mark, you're first. This is my friend Mark. He's a politician, but I consider him more of a friend. He was with me. He has a special place in my heart. Anybody that was there January 6th knows that the person that was by your side, it's almost like you went to war together, right? And it wasn't a war, but the things that we witnessed together is something that I can't even, you just had to be there. And you had to be there to understand that it was not an insurrection. It could have been any one of us, anybody that was there that day that was unlucky enough to be standing by the doors when police were letting people through. Any one of us would have walked in, and then right now we would be arrested and detained and politically persecuted. So that could have been any one of us. It could have been me or Mark. But we were lucky because we were so close to Trump. By the time we got to the Capitol, everything had already happened. So Mark is running for city council. What district? District 47 in Brooklyn, South Brooklyn, but he's not here to talk about politics today. He's here to speak out against political persecution. So everybody put your hands together for Mark.
Thank you, everyone. Say her name, right? That's the saying when somebody dies by the police department. Say her name, say his name. Well, her name in this case is Ashley Babbitt, okay? And she was not a career criminal. She was a veteran that served this country and died on the hands of law enforcement, okay? Now, if this was a Black Lives Matter protest, we would still be having riots in the street. But in this case, It's an open shut case. Nobody cares about it. Nobody's saying her name. Nobody's talking about her. Okay? If any of you that watched the video, there was not a need for deadly force. She was climbing through an opening. He could have pushed her back with one hand instead of shooting. He could have fired a warning shot, but nobody seems to care. They're treating all of the protesters that were there on January 6th as if they were domestic terrorists. This is completely ridiculous. They're still holding prisoners that did nothing wrong, did nothing violent, and we are out here to say that we're not going to forget about Ashley Babbitt. We're not going to forget about the people that are sitting in prison right now, because it is completely unacceptable. It is called cruel and unusual punishment and is unconstitutional, and we are not going to stand for it. Let them go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them go!
Let them go! Let them go!
Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about what exactly happened on January 6th. Myself and Kara were a few rows away from Trump. Luckily, we got right in the front there. I heard every word that the president said, and there was nothing that remotely incited a riot, okay? The next thing that was on the schedule was an actual peaceful protest in front of Capitol Hill. It wasn't because of Trump or anything like that. It was on the schedule. Everyone knew about it days in advance. You had different speakers that were supposed to be there. Fog City Midge was one of them. We were there to stop the steal. I was also there about a month prior during the Supreme Court. There were maybe 2 police officers with barricades and hundreds of thousands of us. We didn't raid the Supreme Court and try to say, no, you need to vote this way. That's not what we do. We were there peacefully protesting. They had people that were led in by the police department. They make it seem like what we did was we charged the police and ran them over and demanded violence and demanded justice. That's not what happened. We were there peacefully protesting. Myself and Kara got tear gassed, and we weren't even near the door. They tear gassed everyone with no warning. No one got on a loudspeaker and said, hey, everyone leave, we're going to tear gas you. Nothing. They shot out tear gas on regular peaceful protesters. Okay, this is unacceptable. The way they treat the left when they say peaceful protesters, mostly peaceful, they like to use that term, mostly peaceful. Well, guess what? This was mostly peaceful, and the prisoners that were peacefully protesting are locked up, and we're not going to stand for it. I'm not going to stand for it. The other people here, each and every single one of you, want to let them go. So that's exactly what we're here for today. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go.
Let them go! Let them go!
Now, in closing, as Kara mentioned, I am running for office in South Brooklyn. This is not about my campaign. If you want to follow me, my social media is Mark, the number 4, NY. My name is Mark Shushkevich. It's the name with all the Z's in it, but I won't sleep on the job like other politicians do. Now, the reason why I'm doing it, it's great to be a social media warrior. It's great to protest. But running for office is the most effective, peaceful way to get things done. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm normally in a suit. I was wearing something similar to this on January 6th, patriotic gear, and people are afraid of that apparently. Apparently me wearing the American flag is a sign of terror in some delusional people's mind. Well, the American flag stands for freedom, and that's what I believe in, and that's what I'm gonna fight for until the day I die. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mark. And like Mark said, it's regular people that need to be running for office right now because the politicians are completely fake, and I'm calling them out. They're phony. I contacted so many politicians, Republicans and Democrats. None of them wanted to touch this because it's too, quote unquote, dirty a subject. We want to keep our hands off January 6th. It might be bad for our image. You're disgusting, Republicans and Democrats, for not standing up for human rights. Okay, the people, it's up to us to stand up to the government, the federal government, and say this is enough. Your local politicians need to be contacted, and you need to set a fire into them. Everybody should be contacting their local and national representatives, and we will have a letter up on the website this week that you could send to them, telling them that this is unacceptable and they need to fight for us. They need to fight for Americans. They need to fight for these guys in D.C., because if it could happen to them, who is next? Yes. another good friend of mine who's a sweetheart. Tina, are you here? Tina, okay, she is not a politician. That's why she's running for office. That is what we need. People who are not politicians. Everyone knows her as Tina 40, the internet sensation, because of, she's just very, her sound offs. But she is challenging AOC. Okay, this is who could beat AOC. AOC, by the way, who lied and said that she was in the Capitol and she wasn't. She was in a separate building, just so you know. And she said herself on a very little heard interview that many people haven't heard, that it was a cop that terrified the living daylights out of her, not the protesters. So quote-unquote Capitol policeman that she didn't even know who he was, she said she doesn't even know, and she doesn't realize what she was saying. When she said, oh, I don't even know who he was, I think he was a cop, ran into my building, started banging on doors. Me and my aide were terrified, telling us to go into the bathroom to hide out. Then he told them to go back to the actual building where the protest was. So that's a very shady story, okay? And that's not a story that's told. She's a liar, and Tina's gonna kick her out of office. So everybody, put your hands together for Tina 40, gonna kick AOC out of office.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? I came with a clipboard because I'm not used to this, but honestly, I have to be myself because that's just who I am. So, yes, I was there on January 6th. I was in front of the Lincoln Memorial with a giant 50 by 75 Nancy Pelosi flag ripping up the Constitution, because that's what's going on right now in our country. These politicians, these commie politicians on the left, they're ripping out constitutions. They're pulling our rights away one by one. Look at Ashley Babbitt. I believe that was on Nancy Pelosi and Mayor Bowser, okay, for not accepting the 10,000 troops that Trump wanted there that day. And then they want to turn us into the bad people. That's not going to happen. See me? That's why I'm running. I'm running because I want to correct all this that's going on right now in our country and in District 14. Oh, I have to go here? Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. So I just want to read a little something right here, okay? The Democrat media and big tech and the political elite are enjoying their bipartisan outrage against President Donald J. Trump and his Republican, Democrat, and independent supporters over January 6th. Meanwhile, we know it was Republicans and patriots who died that day. Or, in other cases, Ashley Babbitt that was shot dead without a warning by Pelosi's Capitol Police. After letting D.C. burn for weeks in Black Lives Matter peaceful protests that killed a federal officer and terrorized the city's people, they claim that Trump and the America First patriots who support him should lose our First Amendment rights. I don't think so, okay? Because we have to have our freedoms. Patriots are not terrorists. We have the right to assemble. We have the right to petition our government. Facts of what happened do not matter to the swamp. They do not matter to the left, to the commies on the left, but they matter to me. And that's why I'm running, because I want to bring this all out. And I want to help take our country back. Okay? So say her name and free these political... I was going to say something. Free these political prisoners now. They need to be free now. We need our country back. That's what we need, and that's why I'm running in New York 14, where I was born and raised. Because AOC, you need to get the fuck out of here with the rest of your commie fucking friends.
Thank you, Tina. Nobody can say it better than Tina. She speaks like a real American. That's how we all talk. Give me a break. That's who needs to go into office. Tina 40, beating AOC this year. Give her a round of applause. Okay, so everybody knows that John Pierce, the attorney for the NCLU, was supposed to be here today, but he actually missed his flight. Something came up, so we have him on a call. He's going to talk to us for a minute. Just so you know, John is the founder of the National Constitutional Law Union, the NCLU. That is the ACLU for the right, or for anybody that needs help for that matter, because the ACLU has completely jumped ship. They've completely become a propaganda arm of the left, And there are no attorneys right now in America that are willing to stand up to the government and for unpopular cases like the January 6th protesters. So John Pierce, he was an attorney for Giuliani, Tulsi Gabbard when she sued Hillary Clinton, Kyle Rittenhouse, and he worked with Lynn Wood. We're going to put him on a call right now. Do we have that call, Randy? Are we good? Are we going to play? So this is John Pierce, and he'll be here with us next time. We've been working closely with him. Visit his website, nclu.com. He is going to protect the Constitution and take care of all the citizens out there that cannot find attorneys because nobody wants to touch their case, like the January 6th Patriots. Yeah, John Pierce.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thank you so much, Kara Casanova and Citizens Against Political Persecution. What an amazing organization that is dedicated to such an amazing cause. And thank you to all the brave and patriotic Americans who showed up in Foley Square today in New York. I am so sorry I could not make it there in person. I am completely overwhelmed with about 5 of these new January 6 cases that came in yesterday. I think I'm about 20 cases and counting. I am pretty much working around the clock on these, and all the calls and emails from these new cases made me late trying to find parking at LAX, which was impossible to begin with since someone jumped out of a moving plane on the tarmac yesterday. So I really wish I could be there with you in person. I'm sorry I couldn't. As you all know, we are in very dark times in this country. Many of our fellow citizens sit in solitary confinement for months on end before they even have their trial, while those who burn down cities like Kenosha, Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, and Los Angeles face essentially no consequences for their actions. It is difficult to not conclude that we face 2 separate systems of justice in this country. While I can't talk specifically about the January 6 defendants in detail because I am a lawyer in so many of those cases, I can tell you this. We are going to take every single one of these cases to trial if we have to in order to seek full acquittals and, most importantly, to find out exactly what actually happened on January 6th. Who planned it, how it got started that day, and who or what organization is truly responsible. We are going to put a lot of people on the witness stand, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by the answers that we get to those questions. A lot of people ask me what they can do to help. There are 2 extremely important and straightforward answers to that. Number 1, pray as much as you can for your fellow citizens who are now locked up by the government in what is essentially solitary confinement in D.C. Also, please pray for me and other defense counsel in these cases. You cannot imagine the vicious and relentless attacks and death threats we are receiving from every direction. It is not easy, but we have no choice. We must stand up and fight for these defendants until the very end.
That's right.
Second, please donate as much as you can to the NCLU. That is the National Constitutional Law Union. The NCLU is like the ACLU for the rest of us. It is the organization I founded a few weeks ago that is spreading like wildfire and that is helping to fund the litigation costs and fees of these January 6th cases. It is so important we raise money for this. Please donate as early and as often as you can at www.nclu.com and help spread the word to friends and family. We simply cannot do this without your help. And by the way, the NCLU does not simply support the January 6th cases. We are losing our God-given freedoms every day. We are losing our Constitution. And that is what the NCLU is here for, to help save the Constitution. We are losing our First Amendment due to cancel culture and big tech. We are losing our Second Amendment as every level of government seems to attack that sacred right every day. We are losing our Fourth Amendment as a surveillance state seems to be what we live in these days. And the notion of innocent until proven guilty has been turned on its head, and it now seems to be guilty until proven innocent. The military seems to have become as woke as Antifa. The federal government has completely outgrown its proper size and scope under the Constitution, and on and on and on and on. The NCLU is going to be fighting to roll back all of those things over the coming months and years. Please help us in any way you can. I want to mention my clients who are detained as we meet here today: Chris Worrell, Ryan Samsell, James McGrew, and others. Stay strong, gentlemen. We are never leaving your side. Finally, I want to give a special shout out to Matt Brainard and his organization, Look Ahead America. They're the ones that got this momentum rolling last weekend at the rally we had, along with Kara and others, in front of the Department of Justice. Matt is a warrior, and we all need to support Look Ahead America. And of course, we need to support Kara's great group, Citizens Against Political Persecution. As you see, Kara is a dynamo, to say the least. Thank you all so much. God bless you, and God bless our fellow citizens who are in prison tonight while awaiting their day in court.
That's right. Thank you, John. Thank you so much, John. John Pierce is a great guy. He's an attorney sticking up for the people who are being politically persecuted right now. And there has to be more lawyers like him in the United States, because the lawyers are all afraid of blowback. They're just afraid right now. And that's so sad. That's so sad. So I have such a special guest last minute speaker for you guys. I'm so interested myself in what he has to say. I came across him on Twitter, a video I saw, and I reached out to him, and he decided to just come here from Florida. Right, from Florida. He's an investigative journalist. Now, you know that's like a dying breed in America. He actually does investigations. He was there the day at the Capitol, and he got really good footage of stuff that was going on inside. And he's been trying to share this, from what I understand, with the FBI, and they haven't really been that receptive, because the footage he has actually shows that there was infiltration. I wonder why they don't want to have that footage. So this is Bob Powell. He works for The Truth is Viral. He's the editor-in-chief of The Truth is Viral, so follow that website. And he's also a Marine. So thank you for your service, Bob. Semper Fi. So everybody, this is Bob Powell. Give him a hand.
Okay, these guys have fired you up, right? I'm here to piss you off. My name is Bob Powell, and I was invited to speak here today because I have proof that there was indeed an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. But that insurrection was not carried out by supporters of President Trump. I am in possession of video and documentary evidence which proves that Nancy Pelosi engaged in a seditious conspiracy with the Capitol Police and the FBI to attack this nation. Nancy Pelosi, in her official capacity as Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, refused an offer from President Trump to deploy National Guard in the Capitol on January 6th, because she knew that if he did, her plan would fail. I recorded a formation of 8 Capitol Hill police officers leaving a broken window undefended, with a mob beating the doors down 30 feet away after receiving orders to displace by a voice on the radio. This allowed a man that I have identified as an undercover FBI agent to rip the broken window from its frame and urge protesters to go inside. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a United States Marine. The oath that I swore to protect this nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic, has no expiration date. I don't care if you're wearing a Trump hat or carrying an American flag. Nobody was going in that window as long as I was standing there, and nobody did. Now, 10 minutes later, I captured video of another FBI agent who was literally pushing people through the doors at the east entrance of the Capitol. I gave the FBI 29 minutes of high-definition footage on January 15th. To date, this moment, not a single frame of that video, not one still photograph of either of these men has appeared on the FBI's website, where they asked for help identifying those who were at the Capitol that day. The FBI has not uploaded a single second of my footage to their YouTube channel, nor have they posted any images of these men on their Facebook page. They're posting all kinds of fuzzy images of people milling around outside the Capitol, but they have chosen not to publish any of the HD images and video that I recorded. Whoever these two men are, they have not been arrested, because I have personally checked over 450 indictments. The FBI is not looking for them, nor are they asking the public for help in finding them. I have emailed the FBI multiple times, volunteering to come in for an interview, yet I've heard nothing but crickets. An email officially requesting comment on the following questions was sent to their media office in May, and it has not been returned. Number one, who gave the order to that squad of 8 Capitol Hill police officers to leave that window undefended? Number two, who were the 2 men who acted calmly with military bearing as if they were carrying out orders, who pulled that window from the frame and tried to push me and others inside the Capitol building? Number three, I provided the FBI with 29 minutes of high-definition video, yet no images of these 2 men are anywhere to be found. The FBI has not arrested them, does not appear to be looking for them, and is not looking for input from the public to ascertain their identities. This is a fact. My viewers and I would really like to know why. I would like everybody to take note of the fact that I am not in FBI custody. The Federal Bureau of Insurrection is scared to death to take my footage and put it in front of a judge to seek a warrant for my arrest, because they know it will expose their plot. Now, I'm standing here today telling you God's truth, speaking in the name of and with the authority of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because I am telling you the truth. It was the FBI and not Trump supporters who led the insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th. And it breaks my heart to say it, because I grew up respecting the FBI. I cut my teeth on shows like the FBI and Elliot Ness and whatnot. But I think Elliot Ness may have been the last FBI agent to have any honor. I remember Ruby Ridge, where a highly trained FBI sniper, Lon Horiuchi, shot Vicki Weaver, an innocent, unarmed woman who was holding a baby in her arms, right in the face. Folks, I'm here to tell you that second to Marine snipers, HRT snipers are the best in the world, and they always hit what they're aiming at. So there is no doubt in my mind that Horiuchi knew exactly what he was doing. The federal government was forced to pay $3 million to Vicki Weaver's family as a result of that illegal shoot, but was Horiuchi punished? No, not at all. In fact, he was sent to Waco, where congressional testimony shows that he was in a sniper's nest taking shots at Branch Davidians as they were fleeing their burning building. Lon Horiuchi's never been punished for that either. I remember watching as the FBI and Oregon State troopers led the Bundys into an ambush as they were going to speak with the sheriff of a neighboring county. They could have been arrested at that meeting, but instead they set up a dead man's roadblock, which I want to point out is against policy for both FBI and the Oregon State Patrol. When the truck that Lavoy Finicum was driving embedded itself in a snowbank, FBI sniper Joseph Astorita took a shot through the roof so that he could hit Ammon Bundy in the back of the head. Luckily, Ammon Bundy was laying on the floor of the truck at the time, or it would have gone right through his skull. When Lavoy Finicum exited that vehicle with his hands in the air, he was shot in the back and fell wounded in the snow, where he remained for hours until he died. Astorita attempted to cover up his crime, but he was arrested and charged and sent to trial. Unfortunately, he was not found guilty. I wonder why. But guess who else was not convicted during the Bundy trials? The Bundys. And my brother, Peter T. Santilli, who's streaming this live right now, for telling the truth about what was really happening at the Malheur National Wildlife Reserve and the siege at the Bundy Ranch. An FBI agent fabricated a Form 302. That is an FBI agent's handwritten account of an interview. The only problem is that interview never took place. An FBI agent fabricated evidence to arrest an American citizen for a crime he did not commit. And my brother, Peter C.T. Santelli, spent 619 days in federal custody, denied the possibility of bail based on a lie cooked up by a federal agent. Was that federal agent ever punished? No, he was not. During President Trump's term in office, FBI agents falsified evidence in order to secure FISA warrants to launch their fake Trump-Russia investigation. They lied to the court. Had any one of us done that, we would be arrested and thrown under the prison for as long as they could keep us there. More than 24 senior FBI officials, including a former FBI Director Comey, resigned or were demoted. Only one low-level functionary was actually convicted of a crime, and he got off with a slap on the wrist. We are standing in the shadow of the New York Supreme Court, where the inscription on that edifice says the true administration of justice is the firmest pillar of good government. In Washington, D.C., on the Supreme Court, it says equal justice under law. We're not seeing that. Major cities around this country, including Washington, D.C., burned last year after the death of St. George of Fentanyl. But those that were doing the burning, looting, and murdering were not punished. They might have been arrested, but most were released the same night, and then their charges were dropped by leftist prosecutors. By sharp contrast, many Trump supporters who were arrested by the FBI and charged by the Department of No Justice as a result of their actions on January 6th are still languishing in the D.C. gulag, in solitary confinement, suffering abuse at the hands of their jailers. I've had about enough of that. I don't think I'm going to let that happen anymore. What about you? Let them go! Let them go! Let them go!
Let them go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them go!
I'm here today to demand that the federal government release these prisoners, grant them bail, and let them return home to await trial. What the government is doing is criminal, and it must stop.
That's right.
I have the evidence necessary to put the lie to this entire fake narrative, but I'm only one man with a very small voice. So I task you, my friends, with going to bobpowell.blogspot.com or to my Twitter feed, which is blowing up at the moment, and share the evidence that I have obtained. The Washington Post has gotten one thing right in the last 6 years. Democracy does die in darkness. I've done just about all that one man could do by himself. If you really want to live in a country where equal justice under law is more than just a cute slogan, you need to stand up and say something. It's up to each one of you to shed a light on this evil. Pull back the curtain and show the world who the wizard is that's really pulling these strings. Now, I've been walking point on this for 6 months. Twitter deleted my last account 5 minutes after I sent my video to the Capitol Police asking who are these men. Google has demonetized my channel and stopped referring traffic to my website. Facebook deleted all of my live footage from January 6th and deemed me a dangerous individual or organization. Mark Zuckerberg has no idea how true that is. Because the truth is a weapon as deadly as anything formed by man. I want you to take possession of that weapon and wield it to devastating effect. With enough pressure on elected representatives and mainstream media, most of whom don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because they're frightened. Except Kirsten Sinema and Josh Hawley and Representative Paul Gosar. They have expressed interest. They have taken possession of this video, and they are going to ask the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the Capitol Police some very tough questions. So take my information and plaster it everywhere that you can find, tagging celebrities, politicians, and other influencers that can amplify this message. If they don't want to listen to truth, it is our responsibility as citizens of this great republic to shove it down their throats until they choke on it. Amen. And if you don't mind, I could use a little help too. Fighting tyranny is a little expensive, and I'm doing it on my Social Security alone. So please go to bobpowell.blogspot.com or the link in the bottom of the stream below and donate whatever won't put you out towards my mission of saving lives and winning souls for Jesus Christ. Can you hold this for me for just a second? For any members of the media out there that want a copy of this footage, I'm going to read you a link to it right now. You download it. I relinquish all copyright. I don't care about getting paid on this. Okay, so here we go. Any attorneys or member of the media who want a copy of this video, text NCLU to 74121, and we will send you the link to download the file. Thank you for listening. My name is Bob Powell. As always, God bless, Semper Fi, and A-Roll!
USA! 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 Thank you so much, Bob. Everybody follow Bob. He's a real investigative journalist. Like I said, far and few in between in America right now. We need more of them. They're real patriots. So next we have another brief call, and I want to tell you about a specific case. This is the best friend. This is the first person I reached out to. So somebody sent me a story that there was a gentleman in D.C. that had cancer, and he was locked up in, not yet, Rain. He was locked up in solitary confinement. Tried to get his cancer treatments, but he was appealing and appealing and appealing. The judge won't let him out. So there's a guy named Chris Worrell in there, former military. He has cancer, stage 3, I believe, and he's not allowed to get his cancer treatments right now. He is being detained in solitary confinement. We have sent him letters. It took a month for his letters to get to him, and the only reason they gave him his letters is because we called their site, like I called there many times, and I have it on tape a called there many times wondering why he didn't get it, and said that I was going to report it to the media, file an investigation. Then magically the next day, he got his letters that were dated back to May, and this only happened, or I think it was a few days ago last week. So Chris was covered by the Gateway Pundit, and had mentioned his best friend Dave Chester, who was the first person I reached out really to on Facebook when I started investigating myself, all of this crazy stuff going on. And then we got on a call with him, and he told us about Chris and his case. So Chris, this is crazy. I really need you guys to listen to this. He was not in the Capitol at any point. The only thing they have of him that they're keeping him in there on is a picture, which is, by the way, it's the new thing they're doing, the screen grab. They get video, they snap, they what is it called? Screenshot video, right? And they use it as evidence in all these Justice Department and FBI affidavits that we read on the Justice Department website. Now, as you know, screen grabs can be manipulated, and I'll give you an example. There was a guy who was helping a police officer up off of the ground, who was knocked down. There's video of him helping him up. But there was a screen grab of him with the police officer in his arms. The Justice Department has charged him with throwing the police officer on the ground. This is a true story. You cannot make this up. There's video to substantiate that he was picking the police officer up. But the screen grab shows, look, this is a violent guy that attacked the police officer. He was throwing the police officer to the ground. Terrible. Chris Worrell, there's a picture of him spraying pepper spray. A little can, it was actually pepper gel, this big. There was nobody in front of him showing that it was there was no victim in front of him. They charged him with spraying a police officer. He told me he was spraying an Antifa person, and I believe him. I believe him. If the police had pictures and proof, they would have showed it. But for some reason, the screen grab that they have shows nobody in front of him. It just shows him spraying it and saying that he was, quote unquote, spraying a police officer, which is absolutely false. This is the one piece of evidence that they have against this guy with cancer. They have had him in there for months in solitary confinement. He caught COVID. He fell and hit his head because he's so sick. So his best friend friend, Dave Chester. We have him on a call for a minute, so listen in, everybody.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you, everybody there listening to all of these wonderful people talking. And John Pierce, thank you so much for representing these patriots. I started writing out a whole bunch of stuff about Chris. I've known Chris for a long time. He's been incarcerated now for over 108 days. And I thought, because I've talked to him just about every single day that he's been in jail, except when they're moving him from one jail to another, and we speak either via phone, text message, or video conferencing, which is no longer allowed. So I asked him this morning, I said, I'm going to be speaking for this rally, and do you want to say something? So I'm going to read to you in his own words what he wanted me to share with everybody there today. My name is Chris Worrell. I'm a politically tortured prisoner being held in D.C. prison, and myself and my family desperately need your help. The doctors here in D.C. jail have mocked and chastised me, telling me that my doctors are not qualified and denied me the medication prescribed by my Florida oncologist. As of today, I've been incarcerated 108 days. I spent my birthday last night in jail by myself with no treatment for lymphoma. We are also being held in solitary confinement conditions, and the food has absolutely no nutritional value, and we eat on the floor. While being moved across the country from jail to jail, I also came down with COVID, further endangering my life as I have an immune-deficient cancer. Add to the unnecessary stress and mental anguish, and they basically sentenced me to existence, or at least a very life not worth living, as I will be medically incapacitated. I have a beautiful wife, an awesome 15-year-old son that I am afraid I will never see again. They are also suffering unnecessarily at the hands of our government. It is clear that my constitutional rights have no meaning. On March 12th, I was granted a pretrial release, only to have it revoked within minutes by the chief judge in D.C. After 7 court hearings with my lawyer, John Pierce, I have continually been denied release, while our system dismisses cases for those who burn down our cities and police stations. There is obviously a politically biased justice system that is ignoring our constitutional and due process. Please help me and my fellow patriots. My life truly depends on it. We are patriots through and through. We sing the national anthem every night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and welcome you to stand with us every night and sing loud and proud as we enter wherever you are. God bless you in the USA and every one of you fighting for us. Uhuru. My cash app is $, capital KAZUM DGC. If you could please donate any funds to his wife and his legal fight, we would be greatly appreciated. Kara and everybody there, thank you so much. God bless you. God bless America.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dave Chester. Can we turn this up a little? Okay, I want to quickly tell you guys something that I find very interesting, but I want everybody to hear this, because it's my own theory, and I've spoken to a couple of people about it. When I initially heard about these guys being detained for 23 hours a day, haven't had any access to hygiene products like nail clippers, like basic soap at some points, and sometimes they're not able to shower. They're getting the worst of the worst when it comes to nutrition, and that goes for the guy who has cancer. You know, when you're fighting cancer, you need to eat properly. They're serving them breakfast at 2:30 in the morning. You know, they're just torturing these guys. They have nothing. They're not getting their mail. We send them books. They don't get the books. They have nothing. Guess what they have? And then I said to myself, wow, that's really weird. They give them a tablet to text and make phone calls every now and then. That's how Dave speaks to Chris. That's really nice of the government, giving a tablet to prisoners, but they won't give them nail clippers. Why do you think that is? Could anybody guess? Entrapment. It's disgusting. They're reading all the messages, listening in on their calls, trying to find more people who they can round up and arrest, seeing who these guys are talking to, using their text messages against them. One guy had said something like, on a text, we all need to stand together to fight this. And they're like, oh, look what he wrote. See, they want another insurrection. They want to stand together to fight this. They're using their text messages against them. Okay? There's no other reason they would be so quote-unquote kind, the Department of Injustice, as Bob called them, to give them these tablets to text message unless they were trying to entrap them and spy on them. It's disgusting. I just had to get that out my chest because I believe entrapment is completely unconstitutional and immoral and disgusting. Okay, so I'm going to call up the next speaker. Let me see if I can see him. Derek, where are you? Q and Derek.
Derek.
Gibson. So where's Derek? All right, in the meantime. All right, Derek is coming. Then we're going to have one. We have somebody who was persecuted coming on after Derek. So we have a couple more speakers. Our last speaker is going to be the professor, who I'm sure you want to stay here to listen to. Professor Miller from NYU, everybody. New speaker on the circuit. NYU tried to fire this guy for teaching students to question the media and to fact check science. They tried to fire him. His colleagues put a letter together to fire him, and the students were like calling for his firing, and he's fighting that. But he's coming on next. So in the meantime, this is Derek Gibson. He's running for New York State Governor. Kick Cuomo out and get normal people like Derek in office. I really believe that. Any politician that's here today are people first. Tina, Mark, and Derek. They're regular people that I know from my everyday life. They're not stuck-up politicians who are completely out of touch with who the Republican Party is now, or any party, the Democrats, any party. They're establishment and they're traitors. They're complete traitors, and this is living proof. There's people, American citizens, being treated like domestic terrorists in D.C. jail right now as we speak, in solitary confinement, being tortured, and no politician has spoken out, minus very few. They are cowards and they are traitors, and we are calling them out today to stand up for America and the Constitution you swore to protect. Derek Gibson, please come. Everybody give Derek a hand. This is Derek Gibson. He's running for New York State Governor. But first of all, he's a friend and he's a patriot.
Thank you, Kara, for that introduction. You want me to sing the hot song? Good afternoon, everybody. This park should be overrunning today. They are taking our freedom. Where are everybody? People should be here to fight, regardless of what side you're on, Republican or Democrat. You should be here today fighting for your freedom. Our Justice Department has turned on the American people. They are being used to stomp on the opposite side of the political arena, and that is against the laws of the Constitution and everything about our American principles and our values. I am here today. She keeps introducing me as a politician. I'm not a politician, but a businessman. I do not want to be a politician. I only want to be a voice for you, for what is right, your God-given rights, and what our constitutional rights. So this is why I'm here today, and I'm going to speak a little bit on this topic about these political prisoners that is being held in Washington, D.C. We are speaking to people around the world, other leaders criticizing them for holding political prisoners, and today we are doing the same thing. We are holding our citizens as political prisoners. January 6th was not an insurrection. January 6th was a redress of the government of the United States that has failed its citizens. I don't condone violence in any kind of way. We don't want that in our society. But when we simply got people that are arrested for entering the Capitol when the police was waving them in, and the charges are misdemeanor charges, and you holding them in solitary confinement without bail, we cannot have that happen in America.
Right. Yeah.
We have had enough of this, and we must fight back to end it, because today it's them, tomorrow it will be you.
That's right. That's right.
We should be in D.C. by the millions, demanding that these people get justice. The justice system is not set up to say that you are guilty until proven innocent. It's the other way. You are innocent, and then they have to prove that you are guilty. The justice system are working backwards. As a black man, I have experienced that. I've been locked up. I've been put in jail unfairly. for simple misdemeanor things and held there because I couldn't afford to get bond to get out. The justice, just like BLM, I do not agree with everything on Black Lives Matter, but the justice system part, I agree with them 100% on that. Black people have been screaming for decades that the justice system is wrecked and is upside down, but no one chose to hear us. Once President Trump got elected to office, he began to expose the whole corrupt U.S. government. Then they started using the same tactics on President Trump that they have been using on blacks for decades. Now people want to listen. You should have been listening then, but it's never too late. All of us, black, white, Jews, whoever we are, we need to come together and fight against the tyranny. I'm not afraid to speak out. I am 60 years old. I have 5 children. I'd be damned if I'm going to die and leave a communist society for my children. I will fight to the death. Thank you. This evening, we have got to leave this rally. We must talk to our neighbors. We must talk to our friends and tell them to be aware of what is going on. We cannot simply lay down and let this continue to happen. If so, the justice system is going to trap all of us. Right now, we have a justice system that is part of the Democratic Party. And whatever the Democrat Party wants to do and change our voices, they're going to use the justice system to do just that. So it's time to stand up and fight. I'm not going to talk too much more. It's hot out here, but we got to stand up and fight. I'm running for New York State Governor, and I will take it home for you. I will be the voice that you don't have currently. I will speak for you. I am not Wall Street. I am Main Street. I walk these streets with you. I am a businessman. I live in your community. I live in your neighborhood. Do not elect politicians. They're already in office and they're not doing a damn thing. 95% of them is not speaking out against the tyranny that is going on so far. We need people that is bold enough to speak out and demand justice for everyone. Thank y'all again for coming out. I am Derek Gibson for New York State Governor. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you, Derek. So his website's gibsonforgovernor.com. And just everybody, Citizens app, I want to plug this, and I should be talking more about the organization I'm with. Citizensapp.us. It's called Citizens Against Political Persecution. Please check out our website. Please donate. We're doing everything we can to help the prisoners. It's citizensapp.us. We're on social media, at least for now. But you can go on the website and check us out. We're going to have a quick song. Could you cue up Ava's music? Ava is going to sing We the People, because it is we the people that need to stand up for fellow citizens. The government isn't doing it. The media isn't doing it. The politicians are not doing it. It is we the people that must stand up. Ava, please, everybody listen in. We the People. This is a beautiful, beautiful song that Ava wrote.
Scott, one thing to tell you about, when I wrote this song, I had no idea how true the words would become. I actually wrote this song because my dad came to America with $20 in his pocket from Greece to live the American dream before I was born. And then, you know, what I saw when Obama got elected, not to get political, was just I saw changes in my country that disturbed me. And it was not the country that he came to. And so basically, if not us, who? If not now, when? Ronald Reagan said freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. I have a news flash. We're here, right now. If we do not stand up and speak out like we're doing right now, we're not going to have a country, and they're going to come for everyone. So it's up to we the people. I'm done yakking. USA! USA! Okay, you're gonna have to restart it, sorry. I'm sorry, this is what happens when you do rallies out in the street, so we have to just roll. in the middle. Just hit the restart button.
We're not professional, professional concert people here. I know, but this is new to us. Playing music, upgrade with Ava. He just has to you guys just restart it.
Black Lives Matter.
Hey. No, this is a Free the Prisoners rally. I'm sure you believe in freeing the prisoners. Seriously, we respect you. I've said it a million times to Black Lives Matter. Right now, the government is persecuting people on the right. It's only a matter of time before it swings left, the pendulum swings and they're not needed anymore. So everybody has a freedom to speak their mind and to speak about what they believe in and to rally for a cause. That includes Black Lives Matter, of course, when you're doing it peacefully. But what the left has to understand is that they could be next. Okay? They could be next. And there's going to be no one left to stand up for them because they would have rounded us all up already. Just like that old poem says.
Got it.
So, are we good for Ava?
Okay. Here we go. For real this time.
This place anymore. Foundations crumbling down when only there's a band. We cannot afford to sit back and ignore. Time to stand up, time to speak out. We've got to fight to get it back, gotta reach out, get the thieves out. This country's ours and we're taking it back. We the people. Never thought I'd see these things become reality. Blood was never shed for an apology. We know what's on the line. Freedom, yours and mine. And I just wanna know whatever happened to. For the people, by the people, we've gotta fight to get it back, gotta reach out, get the thieves out. This country's ours and we're taking it back. We the people. Doesn't anybody notice? Am I the only one who sees the things that they've been doing are not good for you and me? Together we are united, together we are strong. With one voice we'll stand up against everything that's wrong. Time to stand up, time to speak out. We've gotta fight to get it back, gotta reach out, get the thieves out. This country's ours and we're taking it back. We the people. For the people, by the people, we've gotta fight to get it back, gotta reach out, get the thieves out. This country's ours and we're taking
download it, whatever. But we do not do something, share things like our previous speakers, do something, stand up, talk, because we're losing our country, and it's not going to be long.
Yeah, thank you, Ava. Everyone clap for Ava. Thank you. We the people, that's who needs to change things. The politicians have abandoned ship. It's we the people. Okay, and to any Black Lives Matter people standing around, we're fighting for your rights too. Just so you know that we're fighting for your freedom of speech. We're fighting for all Americans' freedom of speech. And all Americans' freedom from political persecution. Next up, we have Steve Rosati. And then after that, we're following with Matt and then the professor and Diane. So we have a couple more speakers. Right now, I'm going to introduce you to Steve Rosati. Believe me when I tell you, everybody, political persecution comes in many ways. Guaranteed everybody in this crowd has experienced social media, being taken off social media, getting Facebook jail, getting suspended from Twitter. Okay? That is a form of political persecution. Another form of political persecution is getting fired from your job for going to a Trump rally. And that's what happened to this gentleman. That is political persecution at its worst, besides locking somebody up. It's taking away their livelihood, firing them from their job because there was a picture of him January 6th in front of the Capitol. He was fired from the Long Island Railroad. Steve Rosati, please come up. He's going to share his story with you. This is Steve Rosati, politically persecuted at the workplace. This is a thing, people. We need to fight it.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you. So yeah, you heard Kara. On January 6th, I went to the protest because the actual President of the United States called for Americans to go there on January 6th. And let me make this just very clear. I committed no crimes. I was never investigated by a three-letter government agency. And a picture was taken of me, and they tagged my job on Twitter. They tagged Apple when I had a podcast, along with Spotify and Shopify where I sold my clothes. On mid-January, my podcast got canceled from Apple, got canceled from Spotify, and on January 20th, I was brought in for an internal hearing by the MTA, answered some questions, and I was suspended without pay on January 21st, and on May 14th, I was officially terminated for policy-related stuff. So obviously, there was a decision to make sometime in February. Do I bend at the knee to evil, or do I continue to fight for God and to fight for what I believe in? And the decision was very easy. We fight for God and we fight for what we believe in. So obviously as time goes on, May 14th, I get in a letter that I'm terminated from the Long Island Railroad. So I have another decision to make. Do I want to take them to the level of courts? Do I get a lawyer? That's absolutely what's happening. We're suing for First Amendment violations, 14th Amendment violations, and defamation. You can never bend at the knee to this evil. Never. So go to the courts and beat them there. That's why we're all here today, because everybody here knows that there is tyranny going on, and it started and ended in January 6th. There's people that are in solitary confinement, like they've said, 23 hours lockdown. These prisoners are getting beaten by corrections officers. This is ridiculous. This is government tyranny. You had the FBI that was there on January 6th, putting themselves as Trump supporters wearing MAGA hats. But that's why Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to release the 14,000 hours of footage that's in the Capitol. Because we all know that Nancy Pelosi not only orchestrated this entire fake, whatever you want to call this on January 6th, she also orchestrated the murder of Ashley Babbitt. Lock her up! Lock her up! Lock her up! And now on January 6th, after everybody clears out of the Capitol building, after there was a murder inside the building, the politicians that were against the patriots of this country, against the rightful elected president of Trump, certified it a fake election, and we have a fake administration now. And that's why we were there on January 6th, because they stole the election from all of us. And we will never, ever bend the knee. We will continue to fight day in and day out. And that's why you're here. This is the first event in regards to January 6th. This is the first one. Now it's up to all of us to take it from here and to continue to talk about it. Because if we're silent on this topic, these people are going to rot in prison. There's some of them are even losing their hope, and they're losing faith. And today could be a day that we can change this. To get them out of the prison, we have to continue to talk about this every day. These people are families, they're fathers, mothers, grandparents, and business owners that are locked up with no communication to the outside world. And how are they having charges, misdemeanors of trespassing, when Capitol police officers were letting them inside the building? How is it trespassing if there's magnetic doors on the Capitol doors where somebody from the inside unlocked the magnetic door so people can go inside? This was orchestrated from the inside, from Nancy Pelosi to the FBI. And thank you to everybody here coming out and showing support for these January 6th prisoners. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was powerful. So everybody follow along Steve's story as he sues the Long Island Railroad. I'm very disappointed. I used to take that train. They need to clean up their bathrooms and their act, okay, because that's disgusting that they would fire him because of that. It's political persecution. It happens at the workplace. It's only a matter of time before it happens to someone you know. You know what I mean? We have to put our foot down when it comes to this stuff. Okay, I'm going to announce the next speaker. It's a natural segue, actually. Is Matt around? There's Matt. So Steve, like Steve mentioned, this is one of the first rallies of this kind. The first one I spoke at last weekend, thanks to Matt Brainard. Matt, come up. Matt is from Look Ahead America, former Trump advisor. I have his bio. So Matt asked me to speak at the rally in D.C. last week, and I was terrified to go into D.C., but I did it anyway. But I was like literally shook going down there. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if they were going to somehow lock me up. I was terrified. I don't know if I shared it with you guys, but the FBI has been to my house, and I've already said it out in public. I'm a peaceful protester. I've done nothing wrong. I just have a big mouth, and that's about it. So why the hell are they harassing me? And it's only a matter of time, but they're still showing up at people's houses. They're still rounding people up. They swore to protect the Constitution, and they're defiling it. They should be ashamed of themselves. So Matt Brainard is an America First Republican. He's a political consultant. He's worked with 5 Republican campaigns. And most recently, he was the director and originator of the Voter Integrity Project, which is so important, as we all know. Without fair elections in this country, this is not a democracy. And we're heading in a really bad direction if we don't fix the problem, because we all know there's no fair elections in America, and we need voter integrity. He currently relaunched Look Ahead America, which did this rally in D.C. last week, outside of the Federal Justice Building. And there's another one outside of D.C. jail on July 17th. I hope you guys are all there. We're going to go outside the jail, and we're going to make some noise, and hope the prisoners can hear us and tell them that we got their back. That's on July 17th in D.C. Don't be afraid to go to D.C. I went. It was okay. It was a little dead. No patriotism there, really, but it was fine. I'm here to tell the story. So this is Matt Brainard. Please follow him on Look Ahead America, the first person to put together a rally for the January 6th prisoners, a true patriot. Everybody give him a hand.
Thank you. Before I get started, I'm kind of a student of history. I'm going to be as loud as I can, is what I was instructed to do, so I'm going to do that. Closer to the mic. Any closer, I'm going to swallow it, but it is Pride Month here, so... All right, no, serious moment. So students of history here will appreciate that we're holding this event at a place called Foley Square. This place is named after a Tammany Hall boss named Big Tom Foley, most famous for committing voter fraud to steal an election. History has a sense of irony, and I guess doing that here in New York City gets a public square named after you. So I want to make clear to you that I want us to all understand what we're really doing here, what this really is. This is the great civil rights battle of our time. And you are all on the front lines. In the past, civil rights have been other things like racial justice, equality regardless of sex, male or female. Now it's a different fight, and it's a much more difficult and dangerous fight, and one that is unprecedented. These people are being prosecuted, persecuted, not for what they did, but for their political beliefs. This is a direct attack on our First Amendment rights. That's what it's at stake. And I want to say how much I respect Miss Kara, not only for organizing this, but for having the courage to come down to Washington, D.C., stand directly in front of the Department of Justice and the FBI building and make our case. Because, seriously, I can't tell you how many people I spoke to, prominent people, wealthy people, who kind of were interested in the cause but were too afraid to show their faces in Washington, D.C. But I'm going to remind you of something. It's that this nation will not be saved by cowards. We're fighting really here for two things. The first thing we're fighting against is the persecution of many of our fellow Americans. Hundreds of Americans who are being harassed and politically targeted by the FBI and the Department of Justice for simply participating in a peaceful rally, committing no violence, doing what ordinarily would be legal on any other given day, to walk into a public building, take a few selfies, and walk out. So we're standing up for them. We're standing up for the 60 Americans, many of whom veterans, who are being held in solitary confinement in lockdown in that prison in D.C. without the opportunity for bail, in many cases not even facing charges, as Department of Justice prosecutors walk in front of judges and tell lies about what they did and what happened on January 6th. Blatant lies. We're also standing up here for an unarmed, 90-pound Air Force veteran, Ashley Babbitt. Now, many of you might recall one of President Trump's rallies where a grown man, very muscular actually, tried to charge the stage of the U.S. president. I remember that. And I remember the response was a couple of those Secret Service agents tackled him, took him off stage. They didn't execute him. Yet this is what happened to Ashley Babbitt. And you remember Guantanamo Bay and all the controversies about those terrorists that were being held there, and how, you know, a book might have gone down a toilet, or they weren't getting all their medicines, they weren't getting all their food, or they weren't getting enough time in the sunlight down there on the beach, and how this nation's mainstream media lost their mind over that. Yet we have Ashley Babbitt, to my eyes, executed, unarmed, no direct threat to anyone. And where's the justice? Where's the outcry? So we're fighting for an investigation into what actually happened on January 6th. How many FBI assets were there on the ground? What were they doing? Why is this man's video being ignored? Who are those individuals that were pushing people through the door? We need those questions answered. So we're standing up for the hundreds of Americans who've been targeted by the FBI, who've lost jobs, have their lives turned over. I'll tell you something. Look ahead, America. We're a very small group. We're relatively new. We don't have a massive budget. But the very first person we put full-time on our payroll was somebody who lost their job because they attended the January 6th rally. Nowhere near the Capitol. And we're only able to do that because of the support of our donors. We're very grateful for that. But I'm very proud of that. That was our first full-time employee. And that sets the tone for everything else we do, which includes the rally we held last week at the Department of Justice. But there's something else we're fighting for. I said there are two things. These injustices against these individuals, but there's something bigger that we're fighting here. Because at the nexus of everything the progressive left is trying to do right now, purging patriots from our U.S. military, going after your Second Amendment rights, declaring that the greatest threat to our country is white supremacy. All of this, the nexus of all of this, is built upon the big lie of what actually happened on January 6th. The big lie that there was an insurrection. So we're pushing against that. And I'm so proud to stand with you here today.
Yeah!
Let's not understate what's happening here. This is the great civil rights movement. This is the great battle of our time. And their hope is that we just forget it. Is that we forget what happened to these people, that we let them rot in prison, where they send a message to them because of their political beliefs. They want us to just go on with our lives, buy the next version of the iPhone, peacefully pay our taxes, just go along with the flow of the mainstream media as they kind of destroy our country, don't raise our voices as our Second Amendment rights are taken away, our First Amendment rights are taken away. But remember, all of it begins with their phony narrative on January 6th and us accepting that and accepting what they're doing to our fellow citizens. This rally, I want to make something clear. This is not the end of something. This is the beginning of something. This is the beginning of America First community organizing. For generations, we've surrendered this field to the progressive left. You hear community organizing, you think Barack Obama, you think about leftist BLM activities, Antifa activities, burning down cities, committing havoc. No, we're taking it back, we're appropriating it, and we're going to do it better than they ever have. And the first battle begins with this battle for those people's freedom and for justice and to stop this political persecution of them for their political beliefs. Are you with us? Again, so we're being watched. There are definitely FBI agents among the crowd here. We welcome them. We want you to see what we're doing. We want you to hear us. The next step. What do we do next? What do we do next? So, on July 17th in Washington, D.C., we are going to bus in a protest to the prison on 19th Street Southeast where these people are being held. We're going to raise our voices in patriotic song. And in the great tradition of Mahatma Gandhi and Rosa Parks, we are going to make sure that they understand we are not going to let this issue go. We are going to stand up for these people. We're going to stand up for justice. And beyond that, this can't be the end of it. Eventually, these people, maybe they'll face really bad charges, maybe the charges will be dropped, maybe we'll succeed, but this cannot be the end of our fight.
That's right.
Please continue to stay in touch with Ms. Kara and Citizens Against Political Persecution. Please, today, sign up to volunteer with Look Ahead America. We have organizers here in the state of New York. We have organizers now in almost 40 states, soon to be 50. And we're going to keep you engaged in fighting on these very important issues, because if we were as well organized as we should have been, could have been, none of this would be happening. They wouldn't dare come after our people. You see them treating BLMs folks like this? Do you see that they're burning down cities? They're assaulting police officers, murdering cops. Yet the ACLU and all of their allies are right there to bail them out of prison. We don't have that infrastructure. We don't yet have that culture in us, but we start building it here, and we're building it today. Sign up to volunteer with Look Ahead America. We will put you to work. This fight doesn't end here. It's a long, long battle. What the left has been doing in this country, they didn't wake up to this. They've been doing this for over 100 years. This is the end of an over 100-year plan. This is their end game. And we're just getting started, but we have to be persistent and patient. Patient with the process, patient with ourselves. But please, I urge you, this cannot be the last protest you ever attend. This cannot be the last activity you engage in like this. This has to be the first of many, or else they're just going to continue to ignore us. We have to demonstrate we have fortitude. We are not going to give up. We're not going to let a hot day in June or July prevent us from raising our voices. We're not going to let ourselves get distracted by what's going on in culture and what's popular, a football game or something like that. This is our priority, and we're going to fight for it like our lives depend on it, the lives of our children and our country depends on it, because it does. America first, America forever. Thank you. God bless.
Everybody clap for Matt and make it down to D.C. This is so important. On July 17th, we'll be in front of the D.C. jail. Look Ahead America is organizing that to support these patriots that are inside and let them show we care. You can write them letters too, by the way, because I will be calling the mailroom like I did last week and making sure that they get their mail. So there are some addresses for the D.C. jail will be up on the citizensapp.us website. So please go to that website to check that out if you would like to write letters to these guys. And I would like to also say that it was so difficult to get media here today, so I want to give a shout out to the ones that are actually real journalists covering something that needs to be covered. You call up these mainstream media and it's completely iced out. This is a story. American citizens are being persecuted and the media is icing it out. Nobody knows about it. The Roman from the Epic Times, real journalist, seriously. One day he's going to win like a Pulitzer. He's awesome. The Pete Santilli show who's live streaming this. Pete Santilli, national treasure. Scooter Caster, I know you're here somewhere. Tara's here. There's Is anyone I'm forgetting? Your news organizations, and thank you for helping us spread the word, spread the message. Thank you for coming today and covering what's really going on and not being a phony, fake news organization that has completely iced out the story. Nobody is talking about it. How does the average American not know this is going on? They don't know that American citizens are being treated like terrorists, held in solitary confinement for trespassing, solitary confinement for disorderly conduct. It's ridiculous. The news media needs to pick this up, and we begged and pleaded all week long. You know how much time I dedicated to calling news outlets on the right and on the left, and how iced out I was? They don't care. They could care less. They're disgusting. Defund the media, except for the ones that are here right now. Okay, we have two more speakers. Diane Sarah's going to say a quick word. And then we have Professor Miller. He's the keynote. You're going to love to hear what he has to say. Professor Miller from NYU. But first, we're going to have Diane Sarah. And then after that, we have two girls who are in a choir. They're going to sing Amazing Grace. Because we're praying for these citizens. And we're praying that they're safe in there. And that they get out safely. And then we're going to have Professor Miller. So that's, I'm letting you guys know, so stick around. But welcome Diane Sayre. She's running, another people's politician, running against Chuck Schumer, the most disgraceful senator in U.S. history. He's an embarrassment, a traitor to New York. Okay, he's a traitor in general. He hates America. So this is Diane Sayre. She's been doing some investigations of her own, and she writes a newsletter. She covered this stuff. So Diane, please.
Thanks. I don't know if he's the most disgusting. There's a lot of competition. Now, I would just like to assert this is a battle for natural law, for justice. The United States was the first nation created on the principle of natural law. If you say we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now listen, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. Now, when the government becomes unjust, people withdraw their consent. How do you do that in the United States? You do it through elections. You do it through peaceful assembly. You do it through speech, freedom of speech. All of these things are under attack. We have to remember the words of Martin Luther King, who was an optimist, in spite of knowing that he was soon to be assassinated. He said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. What did he understand? That people who violate natural law will fall. I worked for a former political prisoner, Lyndon LaRouche. I had friends who were given 77-year jail sentences. I think we also have to name Julian Assange, who knows how he got the emails from the DNC server, and it was not a Russian hack. And I would appeal to everyone here that we have to stand for the principles of our republic. Christ said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Confucius said, "Don't do to other people what you don't want them to do to you." Malcolm X said, "The chickens have come home to roost." New Yorkers say, "What goes around comes around." When I saw those pictures from Abu Ghraib, I knew our nation was in trouble. There's a reason why George Washington banned torture. Because if you torture human beings in the living image of God, you lose the mandate of heaven. And that's what we're fighting for. And what rests on us is not merely the political prisoners who are being tortured now, but is the existence of the United States of America, and it is the future of civilization. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Diane Sarin. Diane brought her two choir, these beautiful, lovely choir girls. Right now we need prayers and we need religion more than anything. And someone said something interesting I wanted to share with you guys really quick. Somebody said to me the other day, and I don't know why, it just popped up into my head. They said character follows you into the afterlife. I don't know. It's something that rolled around in my head. Like, you might not have had character in the past, but I believe that people are born with character, and that it's the time right now to call upon your character and start standing up for people that can't stand up for themselves. The time is now. So start standing up for these citizens, show character, and that character will follow you into the afterlife. I really do believe that. And today is the first day. Not the first, actually last week was the first day. These rallies are just going to grow and grow and grow. People are finding out more and more about this. This is one of the first. To move a mountain, first we have to overturn a couple of stones. Today is the first day. And I'm nervous about everything. I'm just a nervous person. But I'm driving here today. I'm like, oh my God, nobody's going to show up. I was nervous because I know how scared a lot of people are. A lot of my good friends, my really good friends, I asked them to come support me. And they were like, sorry, Kara, I'm afraid. I'm afraid if I go to it, the FBI will start investigating me. That's the problem. That's the problem. The FBI has terrified America. The Justice Department has terrified America, that people are afraid to go to a protest and a rally to support their friend because they feel like the Justice Department and the FBI might start following them. This is the idea people have in their head. They don't want to post things on social media. Freedom of speech has been nipped in the butt because of this. It's disgusting. You can't be afraid of the FBI. Okay, you can't be afraid of the Justice Department when you're peacefully speaking and you're peacefully petitioning the government. Just like the guys on January 6th who are locked up in solitary confinement, and we're here fighting them for today to say, let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go.
Let them go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them
Let me tell you something. I'm more afraid of the damn FBI than I am of white supremacists. Okay? Forget about it. White supremacists, quote unquote, what they're trying to tell us is the enemy right now. If that even exists as a quote unquote enemy, I don't think they're conspiring to hurt anybody. Yeah, there might be some racists out there, but I don't think there's a conspiracy by white supremacists. And anybody that's trying to fight white supremacy should be way more afraid of the FBI and the Justice Department than quote-unquote white supremacists. And the left needs to see and open their eyes to this fallacy, to this boogeyman. They're using these quote-unquote white supremacy groups to pass this legislation and to terrorize Americans so that they can take our rights away. So the left is going to say, yeah, let's fight white supremacy. Bravo. And even some people on the right are falling for this joke. Okay? Not realizing they're using it to strip us of our rights. Okay? So people need to wake the F up. The federal government is your enemy right now, not white supremacy. They are the white supremacists. Okay, now we're going to have a rendition of Amazing Grace. I got a little emotional there. I mean, thank you, ladies. What's your names?
Michelle and Lisa.
Michelle and Lisa. We're praying for these guys in prison. We hope they can hear us in their hearts and that they feel the energy in the universe of this beautiful rendition of Amazing Grace. Ladies, come forward.
And I'm proud to say I was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, Beautiful. Thank you. What was say your names again?
Michelle and Lisa, and we're two of the forming members of Diane Sayre's campaign chorus.
So nice to see these beautiful young people, young women in America and in New York with the right patriotic values. Very refreshing to see. So we're looking for Professor Miller. He's right here. This guy, I mean, I interviewed him last week for my podcast. By the way, I have a podcast. Like and subscribe to @ThoughtVillains, ThoughtVillains on YouTube, ThoughtVillains on all social media. We need some likes. Professor Miller was my guest last week, and I find him to be fascinating. He's the type of professor everybody wants in school. A professor that teaches you to think, for God's sakes. Kids are indoctrinated. If I had kids, I would not want them to go to college. How sad is that? Because colleges are teaching them the wrong things. And this is a professor who actually told his students to fact check the media and to fact check science and to look into, he teaches a course on propaganda. And he was teaching them that masks could possibly be propaganda. It's up to you to do research and find out for yourself. And he asked them to fact check, and he gave them a whole bunch of things to fact check so they can make up their own mind, rather than a professor who stupidly just is a propaganda arm for the CDC or the fake WHO. Okay? He's actually telling them to think for themselves. And then NYU wants him fired. Students were outraged. Some students were cool, but some were outraged, and they were tweeting that he should be fired. And now he's involved in a lawsuit against the rest of the professors there at NYU, the bootleg professors that are saying that they wanted him fired. He's suing them for slander and libel. Yes. He's been with NYU for 20 years. He's a tenured professor. Okay, he's been a vocal commentator. He believes the last election there was fraud, and that includes the one with Gore. So this is a crazy story. I'm going to tell it to you really quick before you come on, Professor. He spoke about the election fraud back with Gore and Bush. And the left-wing media iced him out. Does that make sense? What is that telling you right there? It's all one big pot of jerk-offs, okay? It's the truth. They're all the same. It's the deep state, and that's all there is to it, okay? He's been speaking out about the JFK assassination, what else? 9/11, right? The mask, the COVID, the response to the government, the propaganda, the vaccine. But today he's going to speak about political persecution. So I would like to welcome Professor Mark Crispin Miller, NYU professor. Everybody please give him a round of applause, our last speaker for today.
Thank you, Kara. Yeah, I am. Can you hear me? How do you like my hat? Okay. That's just to warm you all up. All right, I want to ask a question, all right? How many of you identify as being conservatives? Hands up. Okay. How many of you identify as being on the left as it used to be? How many? Okay. Now, how many of you work for the FBI? No hands? Okay, I guess they wouldn't put their hands up. Well, that's kind of a way to make a joke out of a reality, which you've heard a lot about today, right? Which is that the so-called attempted coup on January 6th, the insurrection on January 6th, the riot on January 6th was theater, right? It was a psyop. There is copious evidence to prove this. Copious evidence. It was apparent immediately at the time, as we saw Capitol Police ushering these insurrectionists into the Capitol. What kind of an insurrection is that? Has the New York Times ever read anything? I mean, they're reporters. Have they ever read anything about what happens during a real attempted coup? Did any of that happen? Did they take over the media? Did they kill anybody? What did they do? Well, don't answer that. They engaged in rude behavior. But it was clear from looking at the videos, like the one of the heroic black cop holding off the horde of insurrectionists, and right behind him is a guy filming it, right? Not to mention the fact that the video we're watching of him was filmed by somebody. It was all theater, right? Now in 1954, a handful of Puerto Rican separatists actually fired handguns into the Senate, or the House, I guess, and they wounded 5 congressmen. Was there a huge crackdown on Puerto Ricans after that? Right? What happened on January 6th was something that bore no relation to the peaceful and diverse protest in the streets of Washington. Right? It was theater. And I hear people today and others talk about Antifa. Antifa was the culprit here. Antifa was the culprit. No. Antifa, half those people are cops, okay? Half those people are federal provocateurs. Do you understand? The same with BLM, the same with the Proud Boys, the same with these white supremacists. They're cops. This is one of the oldest gimmicks in the imperial playbook. That's what we have to understand. This is not about being on the right against the left or the left against the right. If you think that way, you are playing their game, which is divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. That's how they destroyed the Black Panthers. That's how they destroyed progressive labor in the 70s, right? That's how they destroy every dissident movement. The British did it before the Americans did it, right? And the Romans used to do it. Don't fall for that. Now, my advice, I mean, naturally we're focused today on getting these scores of people out of the torturous conditions they've been placed in by a lawless government. What's happening to them is intolerable and it has to stop. It represents a kind of tyranny that is, would have been unthinkable in this country not that long ago. But how different is it from the treatment of Julian Assange? How different is it? How different is it from the treatment of Leonard Peltier, right? How different is it from the treatment of Mumia Abu-Jamal? Right? How different is it from the treatment of Eugene Victor Debs in 1917? He was placed in federal prison for speaking out against the Great War, American participation in the Great War, right? So we have to be principled about this. And I'm glad to hear you're cheering at the sound of the name of Mumia, Leonard Peltier. It's the principle of the thing, God damn it! You believe in election integrity? Yeah. Do you? Yes. Would you have been as exercised about the theft of those elections for Bush Cheney as you are for the one last year? You would be. Some would be. But I can tell you from my own long and bitter experience that I spent years banging my head against the wall to get people to pay attention to the flagrant theft of both those elections, 2000 and 2004. Now I'm glad to see so many people on the right now fervent in their devotion to election integrity. All right? You got to be willing to face the fact that the Republicans did it before that. The parties are both engaged in the same scam. We're fighting off a globalist attack. Right? This is not the Democrats or the Republicans. There are certainly some righteous Republicans. There may be some righteous Democrats, I'm not sure. But this is not about the parties. This is not about Trump, okay? Trump sold everybody out. That's pro wrestling, people. Pro wrestling. So Trump becomes president, and by the way, there's considerable evidence he did not actually win in 2016. No, he did not win by election.
Trump won! You all know that!
It's not about Trump! It's not about Trump! Trump won! Trump won! Trump won! We the people! It's not about Trump!
What did I just say? What did I just say to you? Didn't I say divide and conquer is the way they win? Right? Didn't I say that? No. No, it's fine with me. Okay. May I finish? Okay. I can say with perfect confidence that I've studied these elections carefully since I became aware of this problem in 2000. If you can show me evidence against the evidence that the 3 swing states were stolen, if you can show me evidence that Trump's own team actually thought that he won, their own polling told them he did not win, that's why he went home early, just listen to me. Listen to me. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for screaming. Thank you for screaming in anger. Thank you. No, it's not the truth.
Trump is not your father. Let him speak. He has the right to speak. And I'm going to talk to him already. Let him speak.
All right.
Let him speak.
This is clearly a bigger problem than I thought. Okay.
You guys grab the left dude and you have to just like down. Let him speak.
Right.
Whether you like it or not.
No, this is good. I'm glad this happened. This is a teaching moment. Because what this shows us is that if you push people's buttons, right? If you push people's buttons, they will simply respond on automatic, okay? Trump won, Trump won, Trump won. Well, there's evidence that he didn't. You either face that, don't start screaming again. You either face that evidence, or you've basically admitted that you don't know what you're talking about, okay? Trump's team didn't even have an accepted speech written. Did you know that? Because I'm not here to get one side cheering because I'm a member of their tribe, okay? I'm talking about principle. No, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Let him speak! Let him speak!
Go away. She has a question. She's got a question.
Okay.
She has a question. Okay, Shasta, let him ask her question.
So we're going to gather here and say that we're united together and we are the United States of America. It needs to be a thing that we allow everyone to give their side of the argument. It's called it's called healthy debate. I voted for Trump too, but right now it's not about him. It is about people who showed up January 6th to stand on their principles, and this man here is speaking. If we're going to stand on those principles and say that that's what we believe, then we need to not do what the opposition is doing. And this goes for anyone. If anyone were to show up here and they're against us, we can't shun them out. Let them hear what they want to hear. They can give their opinion. It is called healthy debate, conversation. We are not having conversation anymore. We are screaming at each other. We want people to believe what we believe. It's called cognitive dissonance. We need to get rid of it now, and that's from both sides. Both sides of the spectrum. And we are not special. We don't need to be labeled on a spectrum like we have some kind of mental disorder. We can all gather here, unite, and speak peacefully. I want to hear what he has to say. I go home and I digest the information on my own.
Okay. I'm very grateful for that intervention. Okay? I believe, based on the evidence, that Trump won overwhelmingly last year, okay? That is a fact, and I'm not saying it because I believe in Trump. I'm saying it because the evidence tells me the American people overwhelmingly supported him. That matters. The same kind of evidence has told me, and I don't want to hear any screaming when I say this, that he didn't really win in the swing states in 2016, and I think he knew that too. I think he was as surprised as anybody else that he won. And he has served the same purpose that the New York Times has served since 2016, which is to keep us all fighting with each other. Okay. Yeah, question.
Lancaster last year, and I took a photo of how many people live in Lancaster. It was 108 who live in Lancaster. 89,000 was registered to vote. How many do you think people voted in Lancaster, PA? 143,000. How?
Right. This woman. Right. No.
Right. I just want to hear the man speak. Can I hear him speak? I want to
Right. I believe you. Okay. I mean, if we were having a class, we could actually have this kind of back and forth. We can't hear it. Okay. I just want to. All right. Let's get away from Trump. Okay, as quickly as we can. I'm going to put this. I want to put this in a larger perspective that makes your hatred of or devotion to Trump seem as irrelevant as it really ultimately is. It's not about that. It's not about any politician. We're talking about a war that is being waged on all of us. Right, left, pro-Trump, it doesn't make any difference. It is a war on all of us. It is a war on all the have-nots, right? Because what we're living through, if we're lucky, is an unprecedented totalitarian assault on our civil and human rights, on our children's lives, right? This is much, much more serious than any partisan contention. So, these people suffering in that prison in Washington, D.C. have received the brunt of this punishment, but we're all being punished right now by a billionaire cast of psychopathic oligarchs who are using the facade of caring about our safety and health to kill as many of us as possible. Forget Trump. Where is he? Okay, it's up to us. It's up to us. This hurts me to say this because, as I say, I've been devoted to the fight for election integrity for over 20 years. But at this point, I would say that the whole political system is a sideshow. It's driven by propaganda whose whole purpose is to stoke your panic and anger. And when you're afraid, and when you're angry, you're not thinking. Okay? We just saw examples of it. You gotta think. You gotta keep your head. Okay? You gotta forge alliances across racial, geographic, party lines. We all have to unite. And I'm telling you something, that is the most dangerous thing you can say. That is a big reason why they killed JFK, why they killed Malcolm, why they killed Martin Luther King, who was planning a poor people's march on Washington. And that's why they killed Bobby. And that's why they killed Fred Hampton in 1969. He was the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. And he was organizing Appalachian whites, Hispanic street gangs, black street gangs, and the Panthers to take political power in Chicago. He had to die. I strongly recommend, if you like to watch movies, because sometimes you gotta watch a movie, you gotta lighten up. I strongly recommend Judas and the Black Messiah, one of the Oscar nominees. Amazing, completely accurate, and very, very radical for a Hollywood movie. Okay, I'm wearing myself out in this heat. Let me just say again, what do you have to do? You have to keep your head. You have to avoid tribal reflexes. Okay? You have to think in terms of we the people, as Kara said. You got to be devoted to the principles enshrined in the Bill of Rights, right? The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Hippocratic Oath, where did that go? Right? The Nuremberg Code and the Magna Carta, right? And you got to see that there's a connection between this neo-Nazi vaccination drive, right, and what's happened to those people in Washington. Because we've been living through an enormous global propaganda spectacle since the rollout of COVID-19 in January of last year, ramped up by the aftershocks of the George Floyd incident, and then continued with the January 6th bogus insurrection. And something even more frightening may be coming this summer. They have telegraphed this in many ways. Food shortages, they say. Cyber attacks, they say. Whatever it is, no matter how terrified you may feel, make an effort somewhere in your mind to maintain the thought that this too could be bogus. Okay? This is a serious, serious fight. It is war. Right? I don't see any children here, so we can't fuck around. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Miller. Everybody give him a round of applause. Love him or hate him. Let's go. Round of applause. Thank you, Professor Miller, for NYU. And I want to, you know what? That was valuable to me. I mean, I kind of knew how he felt. I didn't know we were going to talk about it today. I personally believe Trump won both elections. That's my personal opinion. Bruce Lee once said, learn both sides and then discard what doesn't work for you. I learned both sides. I'm happy to listen to what he has to say. And then if I don't agree with him, it's discourse, right? It's not a big deal. The thing is, he's saying that there's political persecution and he's coming from, could you agree that you're somewhat coming from the left? As it used to be, the left as it used to be. And he's saying that he's standing up, as all Democrats, independents, and Republicans should be doing, standing up for the people from January 6th, okay? Whether or not they like Trump, whether or not they believe he won, whether or not they're a Biden supporter, it doesn't matter. This is human rights that are being violated. People are being tortured. Who cares about the politicians? It's us. It's up to us now, okay? It is up to us. Trump lit a fire under us. That's why we're all here. It's up to us to finish this. Okay, in closing, I would like to say that please pray for the prisoners that are there right now in Washington, D.C. in solitary confinement. Prayers work. And the government is trying to break them right now. The government's trying to break them so they're not fit to stand trial. You have to be fit to stand trial. You have to have access to your lawyer, which they don't. You need access to the evidence being held against you, the 1,000 hours of video, thousands of hours, millions of photos. They have no access to. Okay, they're being tortured. And the shaman, really quick, last story, the shaman, everybody knows the shaman. He actually had the least violent crimes against him. But they're trying to persecute him, and actually the prosecutor actually said this, a prosecutor, we have to make an example of him because he was the face of the quote-unquote insurrection. That is not justice. All he was charged with was like disorderly conduct. He never broke anything, he never hit anybody, okay? And he's still in prison to this day. They had to check him last month, check his mentality to see if he was still sane because he's going freaking nuts in there just like anybody else would. Okay, he's been solitary confinement since January 6th. That's nuts. So they're trumping up all these charges on them, hoping that they'll plea bargain and that this doesn't have to go to trial, because trial will show that they're innocent. So they're charging them, taking everything out of the hat, throwing it at them, and then hoping they'll plea bargain because they're terrified and they've been tortured, and that they'll plea bargain and there will be no trial. As for the stupid January 6th committee that Nancy Pelosi is trying to spearhead, boo! It's partisan, it's fake. She needs to be investigated. There needs to be a Nancy Pelosi Select Committee investigation. Yes.
Lock her up!
Okay, so they're just trying to find more evidence and ways to railroad these guys, and we're not going to let that happen, people. So keep praying for the guys there in Washington, D.C. Go on citizensapp.us, citizensapp.us. Please sign up to volunteer. We need all the help we can get. It's we the people, it's us the citizens. The politicians have jumped ship. The media is not helping. Hollywood is completely gone. Nobody cares about these prisoners except us the people. We have to get together. We need volunteers, and tell people to donate to citizensapp.us and keep coming out for these rallies. Thank you so much. God bless America. And Ava's going to close us off to unite us all in a song. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America.
Well, the storm clouds gather far across the sea. Let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. Join me. God home. Remember, we're not enemies. We're all Americans. We the people.
Thank you, Ave. Everyone give her a hand. All right, everybody, don't forget to go to Citizens App. Follow us on social media, all the necessary evil channels like Twitter and Facebook and all of that. And follow me at Kara Castronova, and go to Thought Villains. We're actually going to be putting out a new episode on this topic this week, so that's called Thought Villains. Thank you again for coming. Mark wants to say one more thing, everybody. Let's give it up for Mark. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you again, all of you, for coming. I know it's a hot day. I'm so glad I'm not wearing a suit today. The weather said it was going to have thunderstorms today, but we still had more people show up today than all of Joe Biden's presidential campaign rallies combined. So give yourselves a round of applause, everyone. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time.